And you did say that good officers make good decisions, correct? You just testified to that?
My hope is good officers make good decisions, yes.
And you did describe Kimberly Potter as a good officer, correct?
Oh,
I have no further questions.
he's sharp. Hey. Wow. Whoa. That
Hey, what's going on, man? You got a driver's license and proof of insurance for me at all? You don't have a driver's license? Okay. What's your name? You're Daunte? Okay, gotcha. Well, there's a couple things reason why I stopped you. The air freshener hanging down there. Yeah, okay. And then our other question is your tabs.
Yeah, there's five. I actually I'm getting them at the moment, but due to Corona stuff has been taking it slow. I have to set up an appointment.
Okay. Do you have any, who's the car registered to? What's his name? Okay. All right. Do you have insurance for the vehicle then? You got any type of identification at all? Yeah. Yeah, just keep looking for the insurance, and then I'm gonna write your name and date of birth down. All right. So.
This car's completely dirty. No license, no insurance.
First name. How do you
He
spell
got to write his name down. He can't even get an ID. Dirty.
D-A-U-N-T? Okay. T-E? Okay. What's your middle name? R-I-U-S? Okay. What's your last name? Okay. And what's your date of birth? Okay. Sounds good. All right, just keep looking for that. Oh, you don't have a driver's license, you said. So, where do you stay at? Okay, I got you, man. What's an address for you? You said 2814 Northway Drive. What's the phone number for you? Okay. 3360. Okay. All right. So I'm assuming there's just no insurance in there then, or? That looks like it. So this is definitely not it. It expired in 2017. So does your brother have a valid driver's license? Okay. Dallas, okay. Let me see that again. The insurance there. You said so. It should be registered now, right? Okay. So this name insured is Taylor R. Pagel.
Taylor R. Pagel.
Corvette and Buick. Okay. Okay. It came back as Dallas, yeah. So just want to make sure. Okay. All right. Well, let's send it right back, man. Just keep looking for the insurance, okay?
Must have been the dude that sold Dallas the car.
I wanted to say he was lying, but I think he's honestly telling the truth. So.
This is this last with the blue matrix 058 Union Victor. And I'm heading on the frontage road towards
Daunte.
It's the boyfriend of the mother from 4 years ago, is what dude in the basement in the chat says.
1938. I see your code 4. Do you want me to continue?
Yeah, if you want to just keep coming.
Yeah, don't go for yourself. Did you go for yourself?
Yeah, I did.
05 to 19. Not sure where you are, but I'm about 30 blocks out.
Yeah, don't go for yourself until you know who you got.
Season 67.
Okay.
Then I'll continue until
Right, because somebody's had once.
Okay.
Just don't run him that way. You might not come up with the right one if you gave the wrong name, right? Just run him as Daunte Wright. No, just run him like you were in DBS.
Yeah.
Just don't put all that other information in it.
Oh, okay.
See what it gives you.
said his brother is Dallas.
Your incident has been updated.
Oh, thank you.
Or Darius.
Status suspended. Mail. State records hit.
See? You don't want to code for yourself.
State records hit. Oh, jeez.
Sorry, let's look for queries. Keep going.
It's got gross.
Daunte Wright.
Weapons violation.
And it smells like marijuana in the car, so second one we got. Affirmative.
You're going to want to find out who the female is because there's no FP.
Yep.
There's a harassment order.
He's got a gross misdemeanor warrant, and there's an OFP for a female, so I need to ID her. There's also residue, like weed on the middle console, so try to search the car. Apparently the car is his brother's.
You want to tell them what the warrant's for?
Warrant is for the
Very
weapons
interesting.
violation.
Did you hear that? How she said that? Want to tell him
So-
what the warrant's for? She's
Daunte Wright.
heightened.
Daunte.
Daunte
You need
Wright?
to let this
Daunte
other
Wright.
officer know.
Wright brothers,
Yeah.
not the ones that fly, but the other one.
Okay, so I'm just gonna get him out and then cuff him up. I mean, he's got a warrant, so I'm just gonna get him cuffed up. Okay.
Man,
Hey Dante, all right, man. Here, do me a favor. Just step out of the car, and I'll explain what's going on. You can just put your phone on the dashboard there, okay? And then the paper. I'll explain all that in a second, okay? Just turn around, put your hands on your back.
No, he should have closed the door.
yeah.
This is where bad tactics.
Okay, so you are going to be under arrest, okay? You do have a warrant, so. Don't. You're tense enough, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it. Bring it back. Wait. Don't.
You see the bad tactics lead to? Open door. Now you're wrestling with him in the door.
Why'd they cut away from the video?
Jim, sit down.
Again, you got both male officers still in the car. When he's starting to drive, she takes a shot.
I'm next going to show you Exhibit 13. Do you recognize that?
And he had
that
gotten
is
a car in the drive too,
video
because that's why I just
hotter
drove
at the
off.
time.
Right, right.
Yep.
That depicts the. And what is your current position there?
I'm one of the commanders within the department.
So are you a licensed peace officer in the state of Minnesota?
Yes, sir, I am.
How long have you been licensed?
21 years.
When you, well, just tell the jurors what year it was so we don't have to do the math.
I was licensed in August of 2000.
And when you're licensed, do you have to meet certain requirements in order to get that license?
Yes, sir.
And after getting it, do you have to do certain things to keep it?
Yes, sir.
Does that include training, education, et cetera?
A variety of training requirements and continuing education requirements.
And since you got your license, have you done all that was required to maintain your license?
Yes, sir, I have.
Other than
I want to turn your
like
attention now
1/4
to
calorie.
Brooklyn Center Police Department policies.
Click like a whole lot.
Does the Brooklyn
lose
Center
weight.
Police Department have a policy manual?
We do.
And does that contain specific policies within that manual?
Yes, it's a variety of policies.
Why do you have a variety of policies for police officers?
State law requires that we have certain policies. There's a I'll call it a small set of policies that we are mandated to have. I think if you're going to run a business, you need to have a collection of policies that it helps establish standards. It communicates expectations. And when running a business, it really helps drive us towards consistency as far as how our officers are going to carry out their tasks.
And are the officers, well, are these written policies?
They are.
And are officers required to know them?
Yes.
Are they required to follow them? And when did
Last
that
week.
Officer Potter acknowledge receipt of that?
October 27th of 2019.
What time of day? What was he wearing?
Did she recite it in meter?
Look at this guy. He's like, I don't know any of this crap. What's going on?
Again, we're getting this guy's opinion about why these policies exist and what the hypothetical consequences might be for breaking them. But he's supposed to be a fact witness, not an
Mention
expert.
that.
Again, this is a Blakely
You're right.
factor. It's abuse of trust or breach of trust from a like a peace officer or something like that. That's
Commander
what they're going
Flesland,
for. It's just not relevant to the case.
Police officer, draw your attention to the first line of that paragraph or that section. What does it say?
Members shall not unnecessarily display or handle any firearm.
I actually meant the sentence before that first, but
Members shall maintain the highest level of safety when handling firearms and shall consider the following.
and then not to unnecessarily display or handle. Correct?
Yes.
As one of many reasons, but you expect officers to have the highest level of safety.
Yes.
Is that part of firearms training and how to safely handle firearms?
Yes.
Creating known and substantial risk of injury or death to another.
I really want this
Yes, that's a
software.
possible.
I'm way more interested in the
Factor to
software than
consider.
this useless testimony.
Can you tell the jurors when the last time was that this
Oh, man.
policy was sent out to the officers?
Did they really spend all day yesterday proving that he died from a bullet wound?
March
Yeah.
11th of 2021.
Oh God.
And when
Okay.
Because this is every morning they have a break around this time, and
Jory's like, did you say 20-minute escape?
this is crazy. So they're trying to conflate this policy about not chasing because chases are dangerous. Today was bad. I mean, the fact that he had the audacity to argue that these are fact issues, which are policy considerations about the duty of a police officer that has to its community. Those are Blakely factors. I mean, that is a Blakely argument. Is specifically, it's not an element to the manslaughter charges. It's not even close to an element to the manslaughter charges.
Well, I guess what the state is trying to argue is that the vehicle was in motion when she shot him, tased him, shot him, either way. And when she did that, it created a foreseeable risk of death or serious bodily injury to other people when her car, when the car rolled down the street and ran into the Lundgrens and caused his cognitive
It'd be
decline.
Is what they're for the manslaughter claim. What we're really having to hone in on here is the recklessness issue, right? The recklessness element. So any attacks on her acting as a mere mistake, trying to paint her as making any sort of reckless behavior, those policy considerations would come in, right? Because she has every reason to follow the policies related to firearms, related to moving vehicles, of course, but whether or not they're relevant in this particular case is another question. But so I can see how a lot of these policies, at least the ones that are relevant, would come in for the jury to consider for that recklessness issue.
Right. So if Daunte Wright his car was traveling 30 miles an hour down the road and she tased him through the open window and then he crashed and hit somebody, that would clearly be reckless on her behalf.
Yeah.
Here, the car standing still, and a moment later he takes off.
Right.
Yeah. And the other part
But of course,
that,
that's the fact question, right? Was the car moving? Was it not moving? I mean, it looks to me like it wasn't moving, but that's something for the jury to decide.
Right.
The interesting thing here is they haven't had anyone testify that it was moving. I mean, no one. No one has said that car was moving at the time that shot took place. They tried to get the BCA guy to kind of testify to it by watching the video later, because I think they realized that they already asked the questions of the two fact witnesses who were actually present.
Right.
Was the car moving? They just didn't ask. Which
And maybe Larson will just hold up a still photo of the car and like walk it across the courtroom. Like,
is this
You
moving?
You see it moving?
Can you see it moving?
Wouldn't you agree that this is moving? Objection leading. Objection stupid. I'll allow it.
And with respect to foot pursuits, that would be if you start chasing somebody out in the park, and if he's gaining ground on you, or if you're gaining ground on him, if it appears futile, you stop chasing him. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, that's one of the factors that, or those are some of the factors that would be considered.
Yeah, it depends on what you're chasing him for. If you're chasing him for shooting somebody, you would chase him a little longer than you would if he had parked his car wrong, correct?
I'd like to think I would, yes.
Okay.
I like the analogy.
And then we get to the use of force. You can use deadly force in your Brooklyn Center if force reasonably anticipated and intended to create a substantial likelihood of causing death or great bodily harm. Is that a fair statement? That's the
I believe that's a fair definition according to our policy.
okay, and that's the definition of deadly force.
According to our policy, yes.
That's what I'm talking about. And if someone hypothetically is inside a vehicle that's trying to take off, and as part of his body's hung out and part of it's in the car, and the car took off, that person would be dragged down the road, correct?
Very likely, yes.
And that would cause great bodily harm. Fair statement?
I would be concerned about that.
Or if the car all of a sudden went in
Justifying the
reverse
taser.
and their body was hanging part on the car,
Yeah, he
it
did
would
the
also
reverse.
cause great
Finally.
bodily harm, correct? Was that speculation?
The objection is overruled.
They don't want it in. Call the
You've experienced in your 21 years as an
Objection, we don't like his answer
police officer
that we know is coming.
situations like that, haven't you?
Some.
Where officers were injured at the scene by somebody that
Yes.
they're trying to arrest.
Yes.
In fact,
Ooh.
nowadays, isn't it true that the officers, and I believe I wrote it down here someplace, it's incredibly, this is how you described it, sir, in the beginning. It's incredibly more difficult, and I throw in dangerous nowadays, to be a police officer. Do you remember saying incredibly more difficult when you first testified? Here, did you say that?
I don't remember those specific words comparing it to another period, but
Okay, well, is it incredibly more difficult nowadays to be a police officer than it was when you first started out?
I think so, yes.
More guns?
I see more guns more frequently now than in 2000.
And when you do a traffic stop, that's a very dangerous stop, is it not?
They can be, yes.
And that's because you don't know if the individual you stop has a gun or not.
Correct.
You don't know if he has a warrant, correct?
Correct.
And you have to find that out. In fact, you approach a car, a vehicle that you stop for some reason, and you don't know who you stopped, correct?
Sometimes you know who you stopped, but oftentimes you don't.
Okay. And when you're somebody you don't know who you stopped, that's causes you to be concerned about who it is, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
And in fact, you get the license, and what you do is you go back to your car and you check the license on your computer to see if there are any warrants, correct?
Oftentimes, yes.
And also to see if there's any restraining orders, correct?
Yes.
He's walking into the policy without walking into the policy.
Weapons
Beautiful.
violation. Does that alert you a little bit more that maybe this guy might have a gun in his car?
The objection is overruled. You may
Boom. answer.
Yeah, he's walking them through the policy without using the policy. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful tactics he's using.
I like that Earl found his rhythm because at first this was real rocky.
Yeah.
He got a hook
Yeah, but
in. He's like, oh, okay, here we go. Walk up the
T wore off. Now I can really grab him through it.
And when it's determined what reasonable force can be used, and I'm talking about deadly force, you look at the totality of circumstances, correct?
Yes.
And in your policy, and I believe it tracks the statute somewhat, all facts and circumstances, and this is a definition of totality of circumstances, all facts and circumstances known to the officer at the time taken as a whole, including the conduct of the officer and the subject leading up to the use of force. At the time of when you use reasonable force, what you know at that time authorizes you to use either reasonable force or maybe deadly force, correct?
Yes.
It's not something you learn later. It's right there at that time that you perceive at the time that you use the force, correct?
It's based on what a reasonable officer would know, perceive at that moment without the benefit of hindsight 2020.
Yes. And that's indoctrinated into all of you officers as far as exercising reasonable force, deadly force. You have to know, what you know right then.
Getting the Graham factors in that the judge wouldn't allow in earlier.
And that's part of the law, correct?
Yes.
And you can use force to effect an arrest too, correct? And that's in your policy.
Yes.
You can use force in effecting a lawful arrest, execution of a legal process, enforcing an order of the court. And a bench warrant is an order of the court, correct?
Yes.
And executing any other duty that may be imposed by you by your position, correct?
Correct.
And then there's another one, and the use of force to effective arrest in your policy. In preventing the escape or retake following the escape of a person lawfully held on a charge or conviction of a crime. You can do that too, correct?
Yes.
And if somebody's outside of a vehicle and there's a bench warrant for a weapons violation, and if he tries to flee, you can use force to stop him, correct? Reasonable force.
Yes.
And if he keeps resisting,
Earl
that,
Grey.
physical force of pulling on him, getting him out of the car. You can also use other forces, like a taser, correct?
Yes.
If the car isn't moving. And if he still persists on it, after the man is warned that I'm going to use a taser, and he keeps fighting,
I love his pacing.
and another officer is now in the car
He's
trying
like wandering out of frame.
I'm not done with my question.
The objection is
So
overruled. You may finish.
And the other
He's gonna say
officer,
yes,
other
what?
officer is in the front seat, laying over the passenger, trying to stop this guy from going. And he is ignoring the
beautiful.
warnings. Taser, taser. I'm
Watch
going to
the
tase you.
witness. Watch what he says.
You have a right to use deadly force to save that cop, that police officer that's lying over the seat, correct? It's in
The
They don't want to.
objection is overruled. You may answer.
Oh, answer it. There it is.
Essentially, yes.
whoa.
Ah,
There.
that's the answer you
Look
want.
at that truck scenario. Yes. You've got to save that officer that's laying over the seat, correct?
Yes.
If you're
Up.
driving down the street by this driver, if he gets away, that man's going to be seriously injured or dead.
That's it. That's not guilty.
Could likely happen, yes.
Boom.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just walked. He walked
Got
into
him.
the back
And
scenario
some
the
of the
jury had
factors in
seen.
your policy, the immediacy and severity of the threat to officers or others. And if somebody's lying over that seat and another individual, an arrestee, is trying to get away driving and he ignores the taser, that would be the severity of the situation, would it not?
The objection is
Look at that.
overruled. You may answer.
Just throwing out objections. Stop this man from destroying my case.
The severity of the threat to the officers, would it not?
I think it would be severe and significant, yes.
And the conduct of the individual at the time of being confronted by the officers, that's another factor, is it not?
It's a factor, yes.
The effects of suspected drug or alcohol use, that's another factor, correct?
Yes.
If you
Walking up to the Grand
car and you see marijuana shake or seedlings or whatever it is, and you smell marijuana, that would be an indication from an experienced officer like yourself. There may be marijuana in that car, correct?
Good, yes.
Or maybe the fellow driving the
Experienced
car
officer like yourself,
correct?
and also a gentleman and a
Possibly,
scholar.
yes.
If you see marijuana, that's a sign of marijuana. Yes.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
when the individual doesn't comply with your demands, you have to escalate the force that you use, correct?
Sometimes, yes.
And when you go up to that car and you know it's a weapons bench warrant, where this man has been charged, although it's a gross misdemeanor, with having a weapon on his person or in his constructive possession without a permit, correct?
Well, the objection is overruled. You may answer if you can.
State keeps losing on
Can
objections.
you rephrase it?
I would be extremely concerned if I was going to arrest someone that had an arrest warrant for some sort of weapons violation.
Yep.
Damn.
Earl Grey has just destroyed their case with this guy. Oh my God.
He's hitting it where it matters.
2 hours of boring, and in 15 minutes.
And the policy with respect to moving
My guess
vehicles,
is the jury is
talking
awake for
about
this
vehicles
because
moving,
it's pretty quick
not talking
to the
about vehicles
point.
stopped, correct?
I think that policy on vehicle pursuits talks about
Look at the way he's moving and everything too.
or potentially initiating a vehicle pursuit. Or are you talking about the shooting at or from a moving vehicle?
Yes.
The shooting at or from a moving vehicle, I believe, is focused on a vehicle in motion.
But if, okay.
Prosecutor Frank, your psychologist is calling.
How would you
Rough going
describe
pages, goodness.
Kim Potter as a police officer in Brooklyn Center from the 20 years that you worked with her and you were her commander? Objections.
No.
Objection is overruled. You may answer.
Again,
Yeah,
you set this
he's-
guy up.
Yeah. He's a
2
commander.
hours of testimony with him as a
She's
commander.
a good cop. She's a good person. She's a
Wow.
friend. I had no concerns
Damn.
going to calls with her. I had no concerns with her.
An objection. He's objecting to the answer.
Okay.
We don't like this testimony, Your Honor.
Sidebar, please.
Sidebar.
Wow.
The problem, this is the problem with that direct. That direct left it open for so much that he could go
Yeah.
anywhere. That's why I said this course is going to be deadly because he like give a speech.
They
you know?
said
It's
you're
like,
her
this is gonna
commander. You know her personally, right? You have for years.
20
And again,
years.
they set this guy up as a commander who knows the policy, who knows the discipline, who knows the training, who knows the procedures. He's not only the guy, he wrote the policies with the consultative lawyers. He approved the policies. He made sure people acknowledge the policies. This guy knows everything about it. You're the guy, right? You know everything about this. And then, oh, this is outside the scope. Wait, you put the entire book in the scope of this cross-exam, you idiot. You introduced, as I said, you can introduce specific pages of the policy and limit it if you want to do that. Didn't do that. You wanted to read through every line of every
Yeah.
single stupid document ever produced. You bored us to sin and reap what you sow, you scumbag. Oh,
and
Tell us
and
how
one
you really
great
feel,
thing is
Nick.
he got right. Oh yeah, right. He got us right into those gram factors, which you're not supposed to touch on, into the gram factors, into the policy, and he didn't pull a policy up. He just used his questions to get all that policy out of the cop, and then asked him about it. Well, in this situation, deadly physical force was necessary, right? This guy was going to get killed. He was hanging outside the car.
The objection is sustained.
Oh, it's sustained.
Don't answer that, please.
All right, jury, ignore the answer that he just gave, saying how great of an officer she was.
Your Honor, you said that.
I'll let the answer stand.
The answer was good, but I think the follow-up was going to be bad. That's strange, though. She struck half the question from the record. Well, no, she kept it in, but it was only half the answer.
Kept it in. Yeah.
Yes.
Just not letting him continue answer.
I think the answer did the job.
Of the direct.
She's a good cop, a good person. I had no trouble going on a call with her.
Yep. Yeah. It was already over. Yeah.
Did you?
And a lot of times people don't understand. It's not that the answer doesn't matter. It's the question.
And the police chief Gannon go over to Kimberly Potter's home?
Yes.
Objection scope.
I don't know where he's going. I'll let you said yes. I'll let the answer stand.
Why did you go there?
Objections called, Your Honor.
The objection is overruled.
You don't
You
even
may
know.
Answer that.
We have been told she hurt herself.
You mean
Oh, no, that's what they mean.
self-hurt?
Okay, the objection is sustained now. And the jury is to disregard that last question and answer.
Officer Johnson testified about the concern of self-harm.
I think I'm done.
The self-harm thing at the end was good too. Shows you regret.
Yep. But it's been stricken, so the jury didn't hear it.
No.
Thank you, Commander. I'm done.
Yeah. No.
Now for an
Erase that from
8-hour
memory.
redirect.
Mr. Frank,
Oh, God.
Mr. Frank, I think
I can't remember if you answered the question here fully.
Could you restate the question,
Sure.
please?
In deciding the amount of force to use, you were asked a lot about a person who was fleeing. And is one thing an officer should consider is whether they have already fully identified that person.
That should be one of the factors considered.
She wasn't pursuing him.
Yeah. He knows he has to get something on court. He's just trying to rehabilitate something from his direct.
Yeah.
That cross was damning. That cross was damning.
Yeah. Yeah. And in 30 minutes, he dismantled what they did in 2 hours. Over
And
2
more.
hours.
He dismantled their case. Their case. Their case is that's why he's so mad right now. Their case is up
Yeah.
for grabs.
Yeah, that
I
was he ripped apart their case. Frank is scrambling for anything he can grasp onto here, and he's asked one of the most like confusing questions for this guy. Like, did you base your thing entirely on this? Like, you're totally not talking about Kim Potter. You're just talking about what he said about it, right? Like, it's something else.
Like, it's
though.
not like it's like totally applicable, but like maybe kind of, but not really, right?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of what Earl Grey did there. And he did it with flair and drama, which is good because he had to wake up the jury after that 2-hour direct.
Of course.
But he walked him through. This is a scenario. Wouldn't you do the exact same thing?
ruled.
That's
Yeah, this flopped. But it flopped.
Regarding this incident involving Ms. Potter, did you interview any witnesses?
No.
Did you watch all of the body camera or dash camera video?
No.
No.
This is your witness.
He's impeaching his witness.
The
Yep.
reports regarding the case.
No.
Wow.
The answers that you were giving to Mr. Gray, are you basing those answers at all
Earl Dinger move.
with Ms. Potter and Daunte Wright on April 11th?
You don't know what the F you're talking about.
I'm sure I'm thinking of the small portions of the video that I've seen. Relying on Mr. Gray laying out a set of possible events.
But do you know if any of those events occurred?
He's got to tear down his own witness.
For the videos that I saw, but I am by no means an expert on what happened that day.
He still said, based on what I saw, it is.
All the videos.
Nope.
You haven't looked at everything.
No.
Objection cumulative.
And so
Let him
you're
drown, I guess.
allowing, when you're answering,
Just let him go.
I expect good officers to make good decisions.
That's such a, I don't know, like
A
that doesn't do it-
tautology or whatever.
Yeah, like it doesn't move the needle anywhere.
I
the
expect
point?
good officers to make bad decisions.
you were asked about moving vehicles. And does an officer have to take into consideration whether a vehicle that's sitting still
5 minutes to
could be
flatten
put
the
in
cross.
motion when they're deciding whether to use force and what level of force?
It should be a factor considered.
That's all I have here. I have just a couple.
According to Gray,
Recross.
she
Girl
used
is
force
gonna
specifically
recross?
because she was concerned that the vehicle might start moving, right?
Yes. Earl,
Good afternoon, Commander.
I would ask this question. Let's see.
You did see parts of the video of the traffic stop in this case, correct?
I've seen parts.
Okay. And you did say that good officers make good decisions, correct? You just testified to that?
My hope is good officers make good decisions. Yes.
And you did describe Kimberly Potter as a good officer, correct?
Oh,
I have no further questions.
he's sharp. Hey! Wow. Whoa, 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 whoa. That